Hello, everybody. So I am going to do to deploy a Mac OS as a virtual machine on an ESXi host. I had a Mac I was using, and I gave it to my wife, and from time to time, if I need to run some task on Mac specifically, and I feel like buying a new Mac, but I don't need it really, so I am going to deploy a virtual machine so I can use it as my Mac computer and I can just remote to it via real VNC and do my tasks that way. So let's go ahead and get it started. So the first task you want to do is there is a file that is called the VMware Unlocker that allows you to make the ESXi kernel or ESXi host accept the Mac as a virtual machine, since Mac itself is a very proprietary system, so you have to do some special trick as opposed to Windows and other Linux computers. So the first task is we want to make sure to upload the file into our data store. Um, and this is a file right here. Let's upload it to the data store, and I just created a files directory for it. And then you want to make sure to enable SSH on your host by going to Manage Services and find SSH and then Start. And I already get that going. So, and let's find the file now. And we can cd to vmfs, and I think cd volume as well, and find the data store. And that's my data store right here. I can just cd to the data store right here, and let's find the file. And cd to files. That's our file. So we want to unzip this file. Um, so let's go ahead and type unzip. And when we have file names with separated words like that, we want to put a single quote around it. That way it's going to tell you it does not recognize it. Alright, the file has been unzipped. You can just ls to find the unzip file. So now we want to cd into this file as well. Again, put a single quote around it because the words are separated. And do the same thing here technically because it's a file on the inside another file. It just has the same name as the container, I think. So you will see a bunch of files available to install, but I think the one that needs to be installed is the ESXi files. My eyes have not found it yet. Yeah, just cd into ESXi and ls to see them. So this is the ESXi you want, the file you want to install to allow the ESXi to allow the Mac OS to be deployed. So before then, we need to give it the correct permission to make it executable. So chmod plus X, and then double click and right click, and then just run it. I think my mouse tends to paste thing twice. Okay, now it's been installed successfully. All we have to do now is go ahead and reboot the host and then create the Mac VM. All right, let's get that started. I'm just going to pause this and then reboot the computer ESXi host. Next, you want to go ahead and find whatever version of the Mac you want to deploy. Download it as I'll download the ISO file, and then once you're done with that, just upload it to your data store, and then and so you can point the new VM to it to deploy it. In my case, I already have it uploaded there. I don't need to go through and find it. It can be found. I'm sure I've seen them a lot of publishers have it available, so it shouldn't be hard to find. I'm going ahead and assume that you do know how to create a virtual machine on a Windows virtual machine or Linux virtual machine already. So that's simple. If you're deploying OVF, you just choose that, or if you're going to register one, choose here, or if you're going to create a new one, you're creating a new one here. Just name this Mac OS test. I will just delete it once we're done. And this is your version of the ESXi. And since you ran the unlocker, now you have the option to choose Mac on here. And I think the version of the Mac that I have here is, I'll just choose Mac OS. I think it's 10 something. It's higher than, I mean, it says the highest that I find in the list. 64-bit. And then next, and here, I mean, you know this trick already. It gives you an option to have 40 gig here. I prefer doing up to 70, and I will delete it anyway, but you should use more than 40 gig for it, depending on what you need it for. And the memory is, I would just do 4 gig. And the CPU, there's two CPUs. My network, I prefer using my VM network. Those are for other things. And let's go ahead and click on here to pull up the file so we can attach it to it. And I think everything is good. And just do next and finish. And go ahead and click on recent task and watch our VMs um, being created here. Mine is all the way down, so I'm not recording the whole screen. All right, our Mac OS has been, the VM has been created, but it's not installed yet. We just created a virtual machine. To install it, we need to go ahead and power it on. And I like a bigger screen when I'm doing this. Come on. Takes maybe 2 to 3 minutes, maybe a little more. I have not measured it. Alright, now it pulled up, giving us the option. Choose your language. Um, I speak both French and English, but I think I'm gonna go with English on this one. And go ahead and just choose, just like you would install a Mac on a computer. Um, Takes maybe 40 seconds to pull up. Alright, we have our first problem, and I call this um, a troubleshooting opportunity. And I love those. So, this issue here, it's pretty easy to fix depending on what exactly it is. In this situation, I am suspecting, or that's probably exactly what it is, that you have a problem with an expired certificate. Depending on how long ago this ISO was created and uploaded, and then I downloaded it, the certificate that came with the Mac originally um, may have expired. So that is that we can fix by going into the, I think, utilities and go to the terminal. The first thing, though, is to go to the network of that VM and ensure that it is not connected. If you're using Wi-Fi, disconnect it as well. Alright, and then save. I think this is hot blockable. Okay, on your, if you check the date here, you would see probably a very recent date as of uh, even more advanced than the time I'm doing, well, it's UTC, so yeah, I am using Mountain Time. So the way to fix this is to actually set the time to a date in between, or when the certificate would have been still good. For example, if this version of Mac came out in 2017, and let's say we give it 2 years for the expiration of the certification, and I will go somewhere in the middle. Set it for a random date in 2018. That should fix it. Um, so let's go ahead and do that. So there are better ways to do this. There are tools you can install. They will give you the exact date of the certificate, but for the sake of this video, I already have an idea how to fix it. I did it before, so I don't really need to go through the trouble of installing that, and then that can be found. If that's what you want to do, you can find this online and find the tools and install them, and it will allow you to read the certificates on the files, um, and then you will choose the date from there. But I'm just going ahead and choose a random date, and somewhere what you want to do is to Google that version of Mac and then find out when it was released, and then choose a date in between from a year to two. So I found out that this version, Sierra version, was released in 2017 sometimes, I think. Um, so I am going ahead and set this time for sometime in 2018. So if I do date, and let's do July 07, July the 12th, I'll do 12/25 and 2018. If you check the date now, you should have July 12, 2018, and then just quit the terminal and then try again. Hopefully I'm right. Yep, just go ahead and click continue and accept all this. I'm guilty of not reading those. I never do. I should, but I don't. and agree to those terms. Now it's asking you to select a disk, but does not provide you with the disk to select from. So this is another troubleshooting opportunity for your Mac installation expertise. So let's go ahead and find out how to fix this. So what we want to do is I think we want to go ahead and let's just quit this and go to the disk utility. So a partition has to be created for Macintosh. And by default, it doesn't show all the disks available. That's including your virtual disk of 70 gigs that you created. And you can notice it's not here. So if we go down here and show all devices, I think this is the virtual disk exactly. And you will notice here creating a partition is grayed out. The way to clear that out is to actually erase the disk. It will basically do a reformat. Um, we'll just leave everything as is. We're just erasing this. Hopefully it completes successfully. And then we're done. Now you go to this virtual disk. Now you create a partition. And you want to leave it as the scheme as URID partition. That's what it chooses. And you want to name this partition Macintosh. Did I spell it right? Now I'm confused. I think it's right. All right. So, and I don't think you have to click add partition actually, and then type Macintosh, and then go ahead and leave everything else default, and then apply, and then create partition. Fingers crossed it'll just give us a green check. We're done. Now, if we quit disk utility and then go back to install our OS, and do all those things that I never read, and agree. Now you have this to choose from. I don't know why it gives me two. Oh, I mistakenly typed the first one and did not navigate away from it. Let's install it on this partition. Watch out for this one, and when you're doing it, since I'm going to delete this, I don't think I need to go back and then delete that other partition. Anyway, so from here, this is your Mac. It's being installed. Once it's done, it's just going to come up and then assign your network to it, set what you need to, and you'll be ready to go. For the sake of this installation, I'll just wait until it's at least gets to a point where it asks for networking information, since we disconnected it. Alright, for the sake of security, I went through all the networking configuration of the video, as well as passwords and everything, but yeah, this is our new virtual machine, the new Macintosh virtual machine. Now, if you want to connect to it remotely, you have the same option as if you would open an RDP to a Windows machine. In this case, you will have to use something like real VNC to connect to it, and it's a pretty easy process. So this is not the perfect video. I just wanted to go ahead and freestyle it, if that's an acceptable term. Anyway, enjoy, and if this is a project you're interested to, go ahead and give it a shot. And Thanks for watching.